Aloha, this is Dr. Martina, and welcome. I came across an interview from the early 60s with Anne Bancroft, and I understand this is an actress that probably not the younger people don't know. But in the interview, the interesting part in the interview was is that she mentioned the day she met Mel Brooks. She said that she was at a party and all of a sudden with this really loud, very intense voice, somebody said, "Hey, Anne Bancroft, I'm Mel Brooks." And she hasn't seen him yet, she just heard the voice. So she was telling the interviewer, and he says, I had a type of man that I liked, and that was a combination between Robert Redford and Clark Gable. And here comes Mel Brooks. And from that moment on, she says, he never left her alone. She would say, I'm going to go there and there. And he says, me too. And then he would ask her, where else are you going? Where are you going tomorrow? Well, I'm going to go to the deli tomorrow, delicatessen tomorrow in New York. And he says, me too. And on, and he would just not leave her alone. And then she says, thank God. Because even so he was not her type, she fell in love with him. They married a year later, and they were married for 41 years until the day she died. So hearing that interview made me think about, why do we have a type? And I think there's multiple reasons for it. One is to, we can establish a certain individuality, that we're not going to go all after the same people like the media actually wants us to do. Now that has loosened up a little bit. There's more freedom, where they're showing people which are not the same gender and not the same ethnic background, not the same body shape. So there's more types available to us. And we can pick, and we can have some individual feelings about it. Then I think we have a type because it really helps us narrowing it down, especially let's say we're going out and we're walking into a bar, and if we have a type, and there's like 20 objects of our desire in there, and we can narrow it down to a couple of them because there's two or maybe one that is our type and what we think, what we like to look at. So we can narrow it down and focus on making a connection with that. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a type, none whatsoever, because especially in the beginning of a relationship, you're going for the looks. It can be really exciting when what you're seeing is what you like, and that gets you excited, that gets you aroused, and there can definitely be some sparks flying because they look the way you want them to look. They look like they're your type. Since our type mostly carries the characteristics we like about the person's outside, I'm pretty sure a lot of us have experienced that if we depend on the person we want to date, the person we want to have a relationship, how they look, then what we do is we lose the focus on really what their personality is like. We ignore red flags. We ignore that looks don't assure compassion and love and trust and all those things that are groundstones for a relationship, So if we depend on the looks, we ignore all of that. But if we focus on how you feel when you're with that person, how they make you feel, if you feel safe, if you feel listened to, if you feel understood, you feel loved, and you have all these emotions that come up when you're around them. And then if you add joy on top of it and you can laugh with them, laughter is a main component of a successful relationship, then you realize, wow, I like this person. And then the liking can turn into, I love this person. And then when the love takes over, it can also take over your type. It can get to the point that when you're sitting with this person, you're feeling good about being them, you love them, and you realize that you look at them and your type is not important anymore, because what's important is that you realize that the person that sits in front of you has become the most beautiful person for you. So love did conquer the type. So I guess the moral of the story is that don't let your type dictate who you should be going to talk to and who you should show interest in just because of how they look. But focus on how they make you feel when you're around them. And focus on people that you think are not your type and just see what's there. Because, we're spending billions of dollars in this country on prepping and fixing the outside of our bodies so we can pretend to be someone's certain type. But that is obviously not what's important. What is important is how they make you feel. So focus on that and see what happens. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week.